welcome to episode 28 of the Paper Crane Yarns Knitting Podcast. My name is Ashley and I am a yarn dyer and yarn store owner. I'm coming to you from my yarn shop called Paper Crane Yarns, and we are located in Central Alabama, USA. You can find me at Paper Crane Yarns on Instagram and Ravelry, and my website is papercraneyarns.com. Yeah, thanks for joining me today. I have quite a few projects to talk about that I've been busy knitting away on, and quite a few that I've finished, but it's been about a month since I last recorded, so yeah, I've got quite a few things to show you. So just so you know, with YouTube, you can slow down or speed up the videos. So I'm taking a page out of Edible Thoughts Makes, I think her name is Stephanie. I'm taking a page out of her book and letting you know in case sometimes I'm very caffeinated and I might be a little wordy. If you need to slow down, you can do so. You should be able to just adjust those settings here on the video. And you can also turn on the closed captioning feature if you need to. That should be active. I've been up to quite a bit. I saw the Barbie movie, which I was so thankful to do because since I have a daughter who actually just turned 1 yesterday, I still can't believe that she's already 1 year old. But I haven't been to the movies since I was pregnant, if I even went then. It's been a very long time since I've been, and I was really glad to go to the movies, to the theater, to see the Barbie movie because as you may know, if you've been following along with my knitting, I, a couple months ago, started a Barbie themed project to wear to the movie, and I definitely went all out. My hair obviously is different from before, and I wish I could say this was all my actual hair. You can see all of my hair blended in, but I wanted to, part of my cosplay, sort of my Barbie cosplay, because I never miss an opportunity to cosplay, was supposed to be this blonde hair. These are extensions, and they start from like my natural color actually that matches really close, and it goes to this blonde because again I wanted it to be part of my costume, if you will, and they actually arrived while I was at the theater, so I didn't get a chance to wear them. And I knit my sweater, which is behind me. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I had on bright pink pants. What else? I had a pink headband in my hair, and it was just all pink everything, pink tank top underneath my sweater. So I got to go to the movie with my best friend, Kira. That was really fun to go with her. She also dressed up and she went all out. It was great. She looked, so I would have defined myself, I think I was kind of going for 80s Barbie, some kind of 80s Barbie. And I ended up, I'll hopefully have inserted some pictures so you could see. I ended up a little bit more late 50s, early 60s Barbie, which is fine. I still loved the look. And my friend Kira was definitely 90s Barbie. If you remember Bratz dolls, which that was like the doll of my childhood, I turned 27 in June, if that gives you some perspective. So Bratz dolls were like my, oh my goodness. Yeah, this is a knitting podcast, but we're talking about dolls for a minute. She looked like a 90s Bratz doll. It was, or like early 2000s Bratz doll. It was great. She was definitely early 2000s, late 90s Barbie, or yeah, she looked great. So we had a lot of fun. Definitely loved the movie. I was smiling the whole time. I love that it was, well, I won't say anything in case you haven't seen it yet and are planning to, but I will say it made me feel really good about being a mom and having a daughter. I thought it was a very special movie. So anyway, that's that. I feel like I was working for a while and showing you guys my progress towards my Barbie cosplay, if you will, and it was fun to finally get to actually do it. And so yeah, maybe during all of that I should have actually been showing you the sweater. So I guess with all of that rambling, I'll get into my finished objects. So speaking of my Barbie sweater, this is what I wore to the movie. This is a modified Soldotna crop by Cailtin Hunter, Boylan Knitworks. A very, very popular pattern. I've knit this once before in the short-sleeved version, which is to pattern, and that was my very first colorwork project, but I actually don't really wear it. So I always knew I wanted to make another one that I would wear, and I thought this would be a great opportunity. So I went with a very Barbie theme, and I added the long sleeves to the pattern. So the yarns that I used, there were 4 different colors. The black is Double Sunday by Sadness Garn in the black color. That's a DK weight wool, and I carry it in my shop. So you can get all of these yarns on my website actually if you'd like to recreate or do something similar. And then the hot pink color, that's one of my hand-dyed yarns. That's on my Superwash Merino DK base, and that is Come On Barbie. And then the chartreuse color, this is Cordalia Verde by Wool Dreamers, is the colorway Dehesa de Barrera, and it's a DK Spanish Merino wool. Then the final color, which is this light pink with some hot pink speckles, that's my Let's Go Party colorway on my merino, my Superwash merino DK base. So this hot pink, Come On Barbie, and then Let's Go Party, they were sort of companion colorways, but I still have some available on my website. I've got them on DK, and I think I have Come On Barbie in a silk mohair if you're looking for the hot pink Barbie sweater of your dreams. Actually, there is a pattern called Barbie sweater. I highly considered making it. I want to at some point, but it's a DK weight. It's DK weight and silk mohair held double. So, and it's cabled and oversized and really beautiful. The sample is hot pink. So I might be knitting one of those soon. But anyway, I've got the DK and silk mohair in stock, so you could make one if you wanted to. So the sleeves. This was a simple addition to add. Instead of following the short sleeve pattern, I just, let's see, for this size, which was a size 2, and I knit it with the recommended needles. I'll have the pattern linked below. I don't remember what those were. But I just picked up, I think I have Ravelry notes for this, but I think I just picked up 4 extra stitches, and then I just adapted the body colorwork chart for the sleeves, but instead of doing the Let's Go Party and Cordalia Verde, I did Let's Go Party and black to have high contrast sleeves, and then I used for the cuff on the body, for the hem I used the black, and here I used the Wool Dreamers. So I just wanted some like higher contrast for this really cute sweater, and I love the way that turned out. So very, very pleased with this sweater. I wish I could wear it for you, but yeah, I'm in Alabama. I'm doing my best to stay cool as it is. So I, again, will insert a picture, and I will wear this in a future episode because I really, really love it. It's just a lot of fun. I have been meaning to mention this for a long time now, but a couple months ago I used, so nothing fancy, but I used an app to assess my color season, if you will, and I discovered that I am considered, and give this as much credit as you want to or don't, but I discovered that I am considered a light summer. So because I've got blue eyes, I guess, and a fair complexion, and this is my hair color, it's the app recommended that I wear colors. I might still have the picture, and if I do, I'll insert the color palette, but it recommended things like light pink and peach and light blue, pretty much all of the colors that I rejected for so long. I used to only wear black all the time, I didn't realize how much I actually loved color until I've always considered myself like an artist. I've always loved painting and any kind of art I could get my hands on. But when I started dyeing yarn and making my own clothing and getting to see, I don't know, colors come to life, I started to really have a desire to wear colors. And at this point, despite what I'm wearing today, I don't even know if I have much black left in my wardrobe because I just love wearing color so much. So while this doesn't necessarily match the color palette that was described in my recommended palette, I still think it's fun and it brightens me up. So yeah, the only thing I would say about this is in the future, I may end up taking out the hem and adding maybe 1 inch of length. It's meant to be a crop, but my bust and my waist are very different proportions in my opinion. So it's sort of like, it fits perfectly here, but this part, I don't know, I don't love the way it fits. And so I think if it was just slightly longer, I would like it better. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll end up doing that or not. When it's cool outside and I can wear it regularly and get a better idea of how it fits and wears over time, and if I give it another blocking perhaps, because I think it has room to block out a little bit more. Yeah, maybe I won't end up adjusting the length. We'll see. I thought I'd show you my floats. I love the way that floats look. They're so fun. This is a very easy colorwork pattern, if I haven't already said, because there's really no places where you're carrying your floats for a long time. And I think there's only maybe 1 row where you are doing a 3-color colorwork. So if you're somebody who wants to get good at colorwork or practice, or even if you're a seasoned colorwork knitter and you haven't made this, you might enjoy it because it's very simple to make. So yeah, that's my Soldotna crop, my Barbie Soldotna. I really think that the contrast is very stunning. I wish that it was cool enough for me to wear this because it's just so fun. So that was my first finished object. Not that I need it, but I'm going to sip my iced coffee. I was feeling inspired today by Gabriella of Merryweather Knitting and Merryweather Living, but she's Merryweather Knitting here on YouTube, and I'm sure you have heard of her, if not from me, because I feel like I talk about her all the time, but it's because I adore her. And so anyway, I was feeling inspired by her. She was drinking an iced coffee and kind of talking about like the luxury of the treat that is iced coffee, and I feel like I have been taking advantage of that for a while now. I love coffee. I mean, as do many of us, but yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't think I've actually sat down and appreciated coffee in a long time. So yeah, I'm channeling my inner Gabriella and enjoying my iced coffee today on this unexpectedly rainy day. Okay, there's still so much to talk about. I have another sweater to show you that I just finished recently. This one is so much fun. I really love it. This is the Diaphanous Raglan, and the pattern is by Jessie Maed Designs. The yarn for this is Yarnaceous fibers in the colorway Vesuviante, and there are 2 bases here. So this is the body is the Salta fingering base and her Cosmo Cash lace base held double. The Salta fingering is an 85-15 superwash merino nylon, and it is hands down, Maggie has the best bases for merino. Her Bronto DK, which is also 85-15, so soft. That's what I knit my Stego sweater out of, and my husband, he I've knit him a few things and he wears them, but he really doesn't love the feeling of wool. For me, no problem, but I guess it probably is itchy for him. But he felt my Stego sweater, the Bronto DK, and he was like, yeah, I would wear this. So when I go to Wool and Folk in October, Maggie is vending, so I might have him pick out a sweater quantity of yarn. So anyway, these are her yarns, and this is again the Diaphanous Raglan. I knit this for the Yarnaceous podcast Colors of Fall Knit Along 2023. I talked about this in my prior episode when I had just cast this on, but the Colors of Fall Knit Along, Gail and Charlene have been hosting it for many years. The idea is that on the summer solstice, so June 21st this year, you cast on, or at some point in the make along time frame, you cast on a project using one of the Pantone colors for that year. You can use the fall New York or London palettes, or you can use the spring, I think, New York or London palettes. The idea is that you're knitting in the summertime for the upcoming fall season. So you're making one of that year's perhaps fall colors if that's where you live, if it's going to be fall for you, or it might be spring for you, and so maybe you would choose a spring color. But regardless, I chose the Rose Violet Pantone shade, and I think this is pretty close. I think it's a little bit more purple than the Rose Violet shade, but it's all in the eye of the beholder, I guess. So, and I didn't mention, but the Cosmo Cash Lace base is a cashmere, and I think it's a cashmere and merino base, but it's sort of like a brushed, fluffy yarn. So it's sort of an alternative to Surrey or silk mohair. It is a little bit more substantial than either of those bases. Like you could probably, the core, which I suppose is that merino, is definitely on, it's thinner than the fingering, so maybe it's on a lace. You could scale it at like a lace weight, but then when you add in the cashmere, I think it kind of ends up a bit more of a fingering weight. So my sleeves aren't quite as billowy as perhaps if I had used lace mohair. So I'm planning on making a second one of these. But yeah, so I'll try to insert a picture. I would really like to try this on. Again, I'll have to wear this in another episode because I would like for you to see the fit. Something I struggle with some of like the Jessie Maed patterns, the patterns that are perhaps not so expected. She's got unique constructions with necklines, sleeve shape, and all of that. And this pattern there are many options within the pattern for waist shaping or not. Your sleeve style, so there are short sleeve, bell sleeve, bishop sleeve, this is the bishop sleeve. So it comes to like, it's very wide, and then it comes to a narrow cuff. Flutter sleeves, I think. So there's options. And even combing through every single project, when I was planning how I would knit this myself, I combed through every single project page. I read all the notes, I looked at all the pictures, and still I had a hard time picturing, my yarn combo, what size I wanted. I knew I wanted this type of sleeve, but if I wanted the waist shaping, because maybe 2 years ago, I knit the Sheer V sweater by Jessie Maed, and that one is beautiful. It was 2 years because I wore it to India Untangled in 2021. But that one is one that I wish I could go back and kind of adjust because I don't really love the waist shaping. Actually, knitting that sweater really helped me to learn what it is in a sweater, like a more fitted sweater or a cropped sweater, that I like or don't like. I don't really like anything that accentuates your bust, so I didn't like knitting a sweater that was the same circumference. I think I did the 34-inch circumference, and it was like the same circumference, plus you had the sheer V panel, and I wore mine over a tank top, so it felt more modest, if you will. But I don't like things that accentuate the bust, and then because of the waist shaping, it obviously was narrower in the body, which even more so accentuated the bust. So I discovered through that, since it's not really one that I wear regularly, which is a shame because it was not only an expensive sweater, but it is a beautiful sweater. Anyway, I factored all of those kind of points in when choosing how I would knit this sweater. So what I ended up doing, I started this with no waist shaping. I kind of thought I would just let this be, since it's cropped and it has a wide open V neckline that's on the front and the back. I thought I would just do no waist shaping and just kind of knit it to a good length. So I don't think I really saw any projects where I saw only a couple projects where people had done no waist shaping and the long sleeves, and I did like the way they looked. But as I was going and trying this on, I was really apprehensive about the no waist shaping. And so about a little bit past where you should have started, maybe an inch, 1 3/4 inch, I think, after, it's now been a little while, but anyway, after I was supposed to have started the waist decreases, if I were including that, I decided to start implementing them, and I thought that way I would still have room in the upper portion and the bust, but then I would start to get a little bit more taper because I kind of did want it to come in at the waist, since it was sort of such a wide sweater. I thought that might be flattering. So I did end up incorporating the waist decreases, the waist shaping, but it wasn't as many as the pattern said. So I just kind of modified that. But I like the shape, and the sleeves are definitely really cute. They come to, I think the actual cuff hits me like at the top of my wrist. Oh, I did nearly run out of yarn. I was kind of panicking because I did not want to have to order a third skein of the Cosmo Cash lace just to complete the project. I was getting very nervous about that, and I don't think I've ever run out of the lace weight yarn in a pattern before. So this pattern, it was kind of funny. I should have mentioned this pattern requires some intarsia, but it's very simple intarsia. It's just intarsia with the 2 bases, because the sleeves are just your lace weight held independently, and the body and like the ribbing and everything is both yarns held double. So I was, like I said, really running out of my yarn. So what I did, and thankfully this worked, in my cuff I omitted the lace weight. So this is just the Salta fingering base, and you probably wouldn't even know if I hadn't said. So I was glad that I had the foresight to do so on the first sleeve, because I would have definitely ran out by the second sleeve had I not done so. So this project only took 1 skein of the fingering weight, and I had 2 skeins of each. I thought that I would definitely at least use some of the second skein. I did, in the sense that when I did the intarsia, Jessie May says to have 2 balls or cakes of the fingering weight, since you're doing intarsia and you're picking one up and dropping it. And if that doesn't make sense, you can definitely take a look at the pattern or one of her video tutorials on Instagram. But it's just for the intarsia. But after I was done, I weighed the yarn, and I still had over 100 grams left of the fingering weight. So I could have just wound one of the skeins into 2 balls instead of winding 2 skeins. So yeah, all that said, I have over 100 grams left, so a full skein of the fingering weight, and I have just a tiny little ball of the Cosmo Cash lace. So I guess I'll know that for the future. I might be able to just knit one of these with 100 grams of lace and 100 grams of the fingering weight. So yeah, good to know. Maybe that'll help you if you're thinking of making one. So that is my Diaphanous raglan. Okay, my next project, I'll show this one very quickly because they are socks, and I've shown the first one before. I finally just knit up the second sock. I had one completed for some time, and then all of my projects these past few months, this whole year, have been either test knits, or they've been color work or cabling. So I have not had any just quick knitting or stockinette on the needles for what feels like a long time, which is fun. That's how I like to knit, because I want to be challenged and I want to be entertained. But having a daughter and having a yarn store, there are definitely many moments where whatever I'm working on, I really can't focus on it, whether it's a test knit and I need to be taking notes or working color work. Yeah, I just haven't had many projects like these. So I finally cast on the second one and I matched them almost perfectly. This was the first one that I knit, and that was the second one. So they're almost identical. It looks like there's maybe one more row of the black here in the ribbing, but then I knit each cuff until all of the purple was out, so these might even be off by 1 or 2 rows, but the stripes for the most part, they completely match up otherwise. And the toe is a little bit different, but nobody should be inspecting my toes, so that's okay. And the yarn is KnitPicks Felici in the Beatnik colorway. I bought this when it was on sale for $2.50 or so per ball months ago, and yeah, so I had 250-gram balls, and I probably only needed one. I have quite a bit left over. I did use a contrast just for the heel, just because I didn't want to deal with the striping in the heel, and I thought that'd be easier. So I did a heel flap and gusset. These are just a vanilla sock, by the way, just a simple 2x2 cuff, and then stockinette on the leg and the foot, and then a heel flap and gusset, which is my preferred heel, at least from the 3 types that I've tried. And yeah, so I think this actually goes quite well together. I could see pairing this sweater with maybe a black skater skirt and then some black tights with these socks. These go about mid-calf, with these socks and black boots and what my husband calls my vlogger hat. It's just a wide wool black hat, and yeah, I think that would be really cute. Definitely a New York in October kind of outfit. I don't know if I'll bring that, but it's a contender for Rhinebeck weekend. We'll see. Okay, next finished object. This one is very exciting. Speaking of my Rhinebeck weekend in October, so I'm very excited for this trip for obvious reasons. It's New York Sheep and Wool. We've got Woolen Folk. It's New York in October, which is I wish I could just be in that setting every day for the rest of my days. So I'm super excited. But also I am getting to go with my parents. So my husband, of course, my daughter, and my parents. And we haven't done, so we've been on some kind of vacations, like when I had a yarn show in Tennessee last year. We all stayed together in a cabin, and yeah, but it's been a long time since we've actually just gotten to do like a vacation with my parents. So I'm really excited. Hi Mom, because I know you're listening. I'm very excited. So we are driving, which is my preferred method of travel. We'll see how it goes with the little one, but we are stopping overnight. Unlike the first time that my husband and I went, we did not have a child yet, so we drove pretty much straight through, and that is a 17, I think, hour drive from Alabama to Rhinebeck, New York. Well, New Paltz is where we stayed, but still. And we stopped in because we started driving 7 p.m. the night before. I think we stopped around 3 a.m. and slept at a truck stop and didn't even realize, or at like a rest stop. That was fun. So anyway, this time we are not doing that for the sanity and health and safety of all involved. We are going to go to Washington, D.C., and we're going to the Smithsonian, the Natural History Museum, which is a dream come true. We are going to see the dinosaurs, and I am beyond excited for that. So that's part of why I wanted to knit this Stego sweater, which I showed in my last episode. Even if it's too big, I'm hoping to knit my second one for myself before the trip so I can have a better fitting one. But I've kind of decided if that doesn't happen, I will just wear the oversized one. And that, by the way, that pattern is not out yet. It's still in testing, but the testing should be wrapping up within a week or so. So I think Mary Huntan Knits is releasing the pattern the middle of August. I'll make sure to actually post pictures and whatnot when that's coming out, but you don't want to miss this pattern. It is so cool. So anyway, all that said, I also wanted to knit the Fossil Frenzy tee, and that's also by Hunt Hand Knits, who I test the Sago sweater for. She has an adult size version and child size version of the pattern, and before the Sago sweater pattern was coming out, I was planning on making myself the adult size tee, so I could make the little version for my daughter and we could match. So I don't know if I'll go ahead and knit myself the adult size version or if I'll make a second Stego sweater in my size. I'm hoping to do one of those, but if not, I will have my Stego sweater to wear to the museum, and she will have her little Fossil Frenzy tee. Isn't it so cute? So this is a fingering weight colorwork pattern, and the colorwork chart wraps all the way around the front and the back. This is a short sleeve, as I said, a t-shirt pattern. This looks funny. And it's just a 2-color pattern. Of course, if you wanted to, you could do more, but yeah, this was such a fun little project. I loved the chart on this. It was fun getting to see it all come together. I'm normally somebody who would say any kind of adventurous beginner, just go for any project. That's how I learned. I was self-taught and YouTube taught, and I just started knitting a couple of years ago, and I just threw myself into as many projects of various difficulties as I could. And the same could be true here. My only thing that I will say about this that I found to be difficult, the first couple of rows, the color work, and I have to do a little shout out to Kim of Oakwood Knits, because she told me about the ladder back jacquard technique for knitting color work when you've got long sections of floats. You could try that. But so anyway, the first couple of rows, they're really long stretches of the floats to start off. And I would say you'd be best going up a needle size or 2 for the color work chart. Of course, you could check your gauge. I did go up a needle size, but not for my first 2 rows because I didn't have the needles on hand. And that was a mistake because my first 2 rows were actually very tight. Now the rest of the chart was no problem. There were longer stretches of floats, but easy to catch. I just would say catch your floats every 2 to 3 stitches. Now that might seem laborious, but I think it is really worth it and kind of necessary for getting a good fabric that still has some stretch. And even then, mine doesn't have a whole lot of stretch, but I ended up having 2 on my first couple of rows where I had the really long floats. And this is where I could have used that ladder back jacquard technique to avoid this. But anyway, I did have to cut 2 rows of my floats that I carried. Even though I caught them every 2 to 3 stitches, it was still, the tension was still too tight because I hadn't gone up a needle size. And by the way, completely, these are all me problems, not pattern problems. I should have just been more patient and started the chart when I had the correct needles on hand. That's the tough thing with having a yarn store, and a lot of my tools and stash are here, and then some things are at home. So if I'm at one place or the other, sometimes I don't have everything I need. But anyway, I had to cut my floats and I sewed them into the fabric. So that alleviated the issue, and now there's no problem. And that's something I've done before with a couple of other projects, and I've never had an issue. So just so you're aware, that might be something you could try if you encounter the issue with this or any other project. But you can kind of see, even if the camera will show a little bit of like the funkiness in the stitches where the color work started, where I was trying to be really loose, and so some of the stitches are kind of exaggerated, if you will, compared to the rest of the color work chart, which I feel is very even. So just some knitting tips perhaps. Yeah, and it has a split hem, which I love and I think is very cute. By the time we go to the museum, my daughter should be, I think, fully walking, and so I'll, she'll get to wear this and it'll look really cute. And the yarns, by the way, are the main color. This is an unnamed colorway that I dyed a couple years ago to knit one of the lyrical knits, mystery knit-alongs, the Monty Python and the Holy Grail one. I'm looking at the shawl over there hanging up, but I had almost a full cake left, so I did purchase yarn for this pattern, and then I realized that I could just use those leftovers, so I just used that, and it used the majority of the cake. And then this color is leftover from my La Prairie cardigan that I showed not too long ago. This was a La Bien Aimée in the color Fiori, and that colorway had speckles of peach and pink, and so I thought maybe it would draw that out a little bit. But I will say, it's kind of funny, the majority of what was left of the skein, since it was a leftover, didn't really have the speckles. It just had a lot of gray variegation. So there's actually not really any speckles in there like I assumed, and that's why there's more variegation than I perhaps expected, but I think you can still see all the dinosaurs just fine. And something I kind of had to come to terms with is, even though I put all this work into it, and this is a size 3, by the way, which is supposed to be about an 18-month size depending on your gauge. Anyway, I put all this work in, and it's only going to fit her for one season, so I figured we'll use scraps and leftovers, and it's okay if it's not perfect, but I do think it's really cute. So that is my Fossil Frenzy Junior. Okay, I think I have 2 more finished objects to show you, and then a couple of works in progress, and just a few things that I have purchased recently that I will show. And yeah, okay, so this next one, this is, I guess, a half-finished object. I was feeling, this was before I had seen the Barbie movie and I was still kind of wanting to make some pink things. I had a caked up, this is one of my hand-dyed yarns. This is my shoulder pads colorway. I had this yarn caked up because I thought that I would be using it in my La Prairie, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because this would have been a terrible choice. But I held on to it because I knew I'd make some socks. And so I decided to get kind of, again, more into the Barbie spirit, and I wanted to make something with that yarn. These have not been, this has not been blocked, and the ends are still, some of them are still sticking out. But yeah, I wanted to have, again, some nighttime knitting, but I didn't want to just do a regular vanilla sock. So I purchased a pattern collection by Summer Lee, and they're called the Rib. I'll have them linked below, but it's a bundle of ribbed sock patterns. I've never done a ribbed sock, so I wanted to try it out. And this is the 4x4 rib version with the stripes. So the main color, the pink, is my shoulder pads colorway. It's a lightly variegated pink with some yellow-orange variegation. And then the contrast is my salt lamp colorway, which I haven't dyed in a very long time, but I have a little ball of it in my stash. I've been using it in all kinds of projects and making earrings and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, so this was very, very easy. I'm so glad to have supported Summer Lee, because I love to just buy knitting patterns all the time. I love to support independent artists, but part of me is kicking myself for not buying one of her sock patterns, like the Cider House pattern. I was really, really considering that, but that one has cables and I wanted something very simple. But part of me is kicking myself because I probably didn't need the pattern necessarily for this, but she does give you things like ratios between your stripes, and then she gives you some other tips and stuff in here. So definitely a great pattern, and you get multiple in the bundle. So I have only done this one so far. I'm sure there's patterns in there that I would not have thought of, and I didn't think of this, and I'm not saying I would have necessarily, but I kind of wish I would have spent the money on a pattern that I definitely couldn't have come up with, like one of the cabled patterns. Regardless, this was a very fun little project. I'm excited to knit the second one, and I'm excited to block this because I think the ribbing will look really nice once it's blocked. I did knit the medium, and I'm wondering if I used a German twisted cast on. It kind of looks like it. My hands default to a German twisted cast on when I'm casting on any project, but with this being a ribbed pattern, I should have just done a regular long tail cast on because there's so much stretch already in the fabric. So I feel like the cuff is at the very, very top is slightly looser than I would have liked, which is, you know, kind of the antithesis of the point of a ribbed sock. But it's still very well fitting. I just should have done a regular long tail cast on. And I'm wondering if when I block it, maybe I can try to block it more vertically instead of widthwise, which I think it'll naturally want to do. So we'll see. Still, I guess this is, you know, technically not done since it's not blocked. And in my opinion, a good majority of the knitting happens in the blocking stage. Very important part of knitting. And yeah, so very lovely heel flap and gusset. The bottom is stockinette, and I love the texture of it. So I need to make the second one of those. And unless I'm forgetting anything, we are on the last finished object. This one is so fun. This was a test knit for Pacific Knit Co. Jamie Lomax, and she is like the queen of colorwork doodling. That is what she calls her patterns. I've knit one of her patterns before, and that actually may have been my first colorwork project now that I'm thinking of it, but they were just little coffee cup sleeves, and I did not do a good job, so I'm gonna go back and do those again. They're like autumn themed. But anyway, she was having a test knit call for a new cowl pattern, and this is called the Ocean Doodle Cowl. I applied immediately, and actually that next day I went to the Atlanta Aquarium, and that evening I got the email that I was accepted for the test knit, which was fun, like a very good theme day, which by now, if you are familiar with me and my creativity, that I'm all about theme. I love it. So yeah, this pattern is out now. It just came out this week, this past Friday actually, and it's incredible. I totally recommend it. There are two versions of the cowl pattern. So there is the infinity cowl, which is the type that I did, but there's also the just sort of, what's it called, like a standard cowl that's just like one-sided with ribbing on the top and bottom. But I did the largest size of the infinity cowl, and I grafted mine with a twist. And this is my first time actually knitting a cowl, and I am totally obsessed now. I love the way that this looks. I love the way that it stands up on its own when it's on. I will put it on in a second, but I'm trying to avoid until I show you things so I don't overheat. But the idea with these patterns is she gives you a formula, if you will, for the accessory. She's got like hats and things that you're going to make, and then you get a plethora of charts to choose from. So they're all themed based on whichever one you've chosen. And so with this one being ocean themed, there was an octopus, there was a mermaid tail, a sand castle, lots of different little fish and seaweed, like smaller charts that you could maybe use in between bigger ones. There were so many, and it was very hard to pick which ones I wanted to do. So I still have a lot of yarn left over, and I'm going to make a second one, probably as a gift for somebody. So I ended up actually doing 2 inches, I think, longer than recommended for the large size, because I was like, one more chart. So yeah, you pick and choose your charts and your colors. So this is a great project for scraps, or you know, you can adapt the charts to other types of patterns. But yeah, I did the infinity cowl. You graft it with a Kitchener stitch, which I love Kitchener, so that's very fun. I did make a mistake when I first started crafting it, because with this being twisted, having to, pun intended, wrap my mind around how to position everything together so that I was grafting it. I guess I was grafting the wrong parts together, and I was getting, my Kitchener seam was being exposed, so that I was getting a ridge and didn't realize until I was halfway done. So part of me wanted to just keep going and leave it in, but the wiser part of me knew that I wouldn't be happy with that at the end of the day. So I ripped back the Kitchener, which was not fun. I don't think I've done that before. Not fun. and I fixed it. So now it's all well and dandy and lovely. I did like the beach ball motif. I've got little fish. I did the seashells. I think that was actually where I started, with seashells, and this is where I ended. And no two of my charts have repeating colors that touch each other. So I was very careful to kind of plan that part of it, but not much else. I just picked charts as I went. I knew there was a few that I absolutely wanted to do, like the sailboat. And I will say the majority of these charts are just 2-color, or of course whatever you like to do. But there's a few that you can do with 3 colors. So this is one of those. I did the sailboat. This is the octopus that I think every single test knitter chose to incorporate. And I've got some waves and different things to kind of fill in. Cute fish, and then little fish, and maybe some waves. This was the only section that didn't turn out quite as I wanted. I like the colors together, but this is seaweed. I'm sure you can tell. I should have chosen a different background color to accentuate that, but I didn't. And this was the chart that I was most excited for, which are the gulls. Really cute. And that is pretty much it. So there was quite a few charts I didn't get to use, so I do plan on making this again. And I'll put it on. So I love the way that this just sits so well. I've already shared lots of pictures. I'll kind of just show you, and of course you can adjust it how you want, but with the twist and the DK weight wool, that's all wool, and the width of it, I think it just sits so well. It's so cute. The only thing that I kind of laugh about is the fact that it's ocean motifs, and it will probably never be the right temperature where I live in the American South to wear an ocean themed thing during sort of an ocean themed time of the year, if you will. But that's okay. It's so fun. So that is my last finished object, I guess. Pacific Knit Co. Jamie, she's about to release, she's gotten testing, another pattern that I am very, very excited for. Well, actually on the same day she released the ocean doodle, she also released her floral doodle, which is so cute. There's snails and roses and different things, so I will probably pick that pattern up at some point. But the one she's gotten testing is another autumn doodle cowl, and it has coffee cups and mushrooms and just, it's the cutest thing. So I hope to make one of those, and I think I can. This cowl actually only took me 5 days to knit, so I was definitely speedy. I was very excited about it. And if I'm doing a test knit, I like to try, especially this year since I've done so many, I like to try to just get them done quickly. I'm on my last test knit right now. I'm not doing any more test knits for a while, and I'll show that soon. But yeah, I plan on doing the autumn doodle cowl, and I would like to bring that to New York Sheep and Wool. And there's also a pattern that I want to make. It is called the toadstool beret. I bought the pattern, and it's just what it sounds like. It's a beret that looks like a spotted toadstool mushroom hat. So again, the theme thing. Let's talk about some works in progress after I drink a sip of coffee. I really don't need this. I think you're probably thinking the same thing. This is my Fat Squirrel Fibers bag. I'm so tempted to buy another one. She's about to have an update, but I'm trying to be good. I'm not going to buy one because there's Rhinebeck very soon. I'm not going to buy one. I'm not. This is my Fat Squirrel Fibers bag. I kind of use it as a carry-all for many things. A couple of things in here to show you. I think I'll try to go, well, we're an hour in. Obviously, you can watch this at your own pace, and maybe you've already left and you'll come back, and maybe you're watching this in segments. I hope I'm keeping you company while you do something that you enjoy, or maybe you're doing housework and just kind of glancing over every once in a while, and that's fine too. But yeah, I'm just gonna maybe a little bit more quickly show you each project I'm working on. So we'll start with what's on top, And oh, I adore this so much. I'm sure you know if you've been watching. I always feel silly when I say that because I don't want to assume if you're here right now that you've been here before, but I know there are many of you who do watch each episode, and I appreciate that. I guess I haven't scared you off yet, but I guess know from my past few episodes, I'm completely obsessed with Oakwood Knits, her designs, Kim. And she's got Stardew patterns for every season. I've talked about that at length. You've probably seen those on Instagram or on Ravelry. They are gorgeous. So right now we're in the summer pattern knit along. I did the spring pattern, which you can go back and view if you'd like, either on my Ravelry page or on my YouTube channel or Instagram. So anyway, I'm doing summer. I don't currently have any yarn attached because I just finished when I was last working on this. It's time to introduce some new colors, so it's kind of nice right now because there's a lot of yarn to carry around for this project, so easier to show you. But this is the summer sock, and it's knit to pattern. I'm using KnitPicks palette wool, which is a fingering weight wool. I've said before, I will continue to say, there's no nylon in this yarn, but please don't let that deter you from using it, especially for these patterns. It's the perfect choice, honestly. They are affordable, and they have a very woolly, kind of stickier nature to them. So I think it's creating a very strong fabric. And if you're perhaps like me, this is not something I plan on wearing all the time. But even if I did, if the bottom of the sock started to wear out or even felt, no big deal. My merino, my wool nylon socks do that because I treasure my socks and I wear them all the time. That's the point of them. But I do plan on maybe only wearing these occasionally to preserve them just because they're beautiful and I think they're so artistic, and they might even go on my wall at the yarn shop for a while. We'll see when I've done the whole year worth, all the seasons. But yeah, I'm still in my first sock. For the summer, I've been really busy with knitting and test knits, so I'm not sure if I'll get both socks done before the knit along is over. I will definitely for fall, but I don't know about summer. We'll see. I mean, it's a quick knit. I just have had so much going on. But again, if you're familiar with Stardew Valley, these are all different. These motifs represent the different crops in the game, and they're just so fun. Knit stitches lend so well to the art style of Stardew Valley. So these just look like they've been pulled straight out of the game. They're so beautiful. This is my favorite row, my favorite section. But I also do really love the corn. So I'm having a lot of fun with these. And my stitch marker is a prismatic shard, again from the Stardew Valley game. And this is by Nerdy Knits. It's so cute. So that's a very fun project. Yeah, Stardew Valley, knitting, nothing could be better, right? Okay, let's talk about the vest that I'm knitting for my dad. This is a Maddie Lane Crafts pattern. I still can't remember the name of it because it's like numbers. I think it's from a magazine, but it is a, I think it's men's best vest. I'll have it linked below. But this is a sweater vest that I'm making for my dad who requested one. The goal is to have it ready by October, which was the requested finishing date. I think I'm on track to do so. Ordinarily that would be no problem, but I've just been so in love with all the projects for myself. So I've been, I don't want to say selfish, but a little selfish with my time. And I have been knitting other gifts. And anyway, I'm trying to get this done for my dad before then. So I do have the back panel complete. Last time I showed this, I think I was still working on the back panel. So I've definitely made some progress. It hasn't been blocked and there's still ends and there's, raw edges right now. So it, doesn't look super finished or anything, but I think it's very lovely. This is Cascade. It's their sport weight, non-superwash wool. It's a lovely kind of forest heather color. There are cables and then panels of stockinette, twisted rib on the hem, I think this looks really, really nice. I'm just hoping that it fits because since he lives a couple hours away, I haven't been able to test it out to get an idea. Plus with this being a pieced pattern, which that's not an inherent knitting thing in my brain. I can't think of a better way to put that, but I've not really done that maybe more than once or twice. So I can't look at it and know if it will fit the same way I could something in the round. But it is wool, and I know with blocking I can kind of get it to fit the dimensions that I'll need a bit better. So we'll see. Hopefully it will work. I will say this pattern only comes in 3 sizes, again, because I think it was published in a magazine. So I'm knitting the 47-inch, I believe. That's the largest of the 3 sizes. It's been fun. It's a very easy knit, but the pattern, again, as I said, because it's from I think from a magazine or some kind of publication, there's very limited, it's only a 2-page pattern. So each section, it's certainly a great pattern. It's a beautiful pattern, but it certainly expects you to kind of have an understanding of knitting. So I will say it's not like some modern designer patterns where it kind of holds your hand or really gives you really in-depth instruction, but you can definitely figure it out. It's not hard, and you can look at it and probably tell it's not hard. So that's the back panel. I've knit both of the little pockets, and I think one of my pockets was 5 rows short. So because it's not finished, it's live stitches, I should just be able to pop it back on the needles and add my 5 rows or so. So I've started on my front. This is a project bag that I made. I sold these a couple of months ago, and I don't have any more of this fabric, but I need to do a bag update. It's been a while. I have some new Barbie bags in the shop, but that's all right now that's new. So anyway, I've started on one of the front panels. I'm just on the ribbing. I just wanted to make some progress, and getting started is usually the hardest part. So I've started on the front, one of the front panels. I do know that you have to, at some point in the making, I need to look at the pattern. You do end up picking up this in some way, so I'm not sure if I do need to add those extra rows or not. I will do the first pocket and see if it will make a difference. The first pocket as in the one that's actually knit to the correct length. Yeah, so that is my dad's vest project. Slow but steady. We will get there. So this next project is actually a mystery knit along. So I wanted to go ahead and put that out there because it's an active mcal. In case you don't want to see this. Sorry, I just shook the camera a bit. This is the Sharon on the Trail Casapinka mystery. Oh, I got a shiver. Mystery knit along, and we only have had 3 clue releases so far, and I've never done a Casapinka mcal, so I'm not really sure. I don't think it says anywhere how many clues there will be, or if it does, I just haven't looked because I kind of cast this on a whim. I didn't get to do the Lyrical Knits mcal this year, and I didn't want to miss an opportunity, and I am not doing Stephen West. Somebody hold me to that. I'm not doing the Stephen West mcal. I love both of the shawls that I have from the prior 2 years, but I don't want that chaos this year, so I'm not doing it. So I just took a unexpected but brief intermission. I didn't realize that my camera had stopped recording. Thankfully, it only lost like 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah, I didn't realize that it was full, so I had to delete some stuff, and now we're back. Hopefully I have enough room to get through the rest of everything I have here. This is called Sharon on the Trail, and I'll put a timestamp here if you would like to skip this, if perhaps you are participating in the mcal and don't want anything spoiled. I'm only through like the first little portion, so yeah, you probably wouldn't be spoiled anyway, but just in case, there you go. So this is a 4 skein project. It's a fingering weight project, so I used 4 skeins from Stash. I am using, for my color A, this is called Roaring 20s. This is our Yarnaceous Fibers colorway. I think this was the first time I ever purchased from Yarnaceous Fibers. At the end of last year, the fall or so, she was doing mystery skeins, so I got 2, and this was one of the ones I got, and it's on her Salta fingering. It's like a blue with green and blue speckles. And then my color B This is from Lamb Strings, and it's kind of fun to combine yarns from like my two favorite dyers. This is Lamb Strings, this is Camp Crystal Lake. This is one that I talked about maybe 2 episodes ago. I purchased this thinking I might use it in my La Prairie as my 5th color, but it's a merino singles base, so I was a little unsure about using this, and I used a different color. So I'm using this one in this project because I kind of wanted like a nautical theme, a little something unlike what I would normally do. I don't do a lot of blues, but I've been kind of feeling it recently. And then my color 3, this is also Yarnaceous fibers. I purchased this initially to use in the Fossil Frenzy tee for my daughter, but because I had just enough of the Lobby Anime scraps, I didn't use that, so I'm using it here. This is the Natural Light colorway Salta Fingering base, and it's so beautiful. This might look like an undyed skein of yarn, but it is not. Undyed skeins of yarn, merino-wise, are usually a bit yellow. So this has been toned, if you will, to be this beautiful creamy white color, and I think it's just perfect. So instead of being a warm white, it's a cool white, so it's definitely worth the purchase. And then color 4, this is my, this is Victorian by Lamb Strings. I bought this end of last year or middle of last year. So these were 4 skeins in stash, and again I was going for like a nautical kind of romantic theme, and I feel like that's what I'm achieving. So here is the project so far, and it's basically, well, it's not basically, it is 4 panels of the same pattern. So you start with this one, it's not blocked, so it's kind of harder to see, but once I block it, these eyelets will open up really well. Maybe you can see it better in this one. They're not just yarn overs, it's an interesting stitch, it's very fun. And then there's some garter and then just stockinette, so I just need to finish up. I just need to do the last section of, I'd like for you to be able to see this, but it's actually nice and gloomy outside. It's like a sunny, or not sunny, it's a summer thunderstorm. I'm so excited. This is a rare occurrence for us recently. Anyway, so I just need to do the stockinette, and then you bind off, and I know that the next section involves just picking up stitches along one of these longer edges, and it's not a lot of knitting, but it's picking up stitches, and then there's like maybe a dip stitch or something, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this will go. This is kind of an unusual start for a shawl, but I think it'll be fun, and in these colors, I think I will like this. I think it'll be pretty. So that's my Sharon on the Trail mcal. I think that's everything in this bag. So let's talk about perhaps my favorite work in progress, just because the colors are outstanding. So this one is in a project bag that I made. This is a quilted project bag I made a couple of months ago. It's been my favorite. I've used this one so many times. It's got a drawstring and a handle, which is really handy. Pun intended, I guess. Very cute. I've shown this bag a few times. I am knitting the Rose cardigan by Andrea Mowry, which is a sport weight faded cardigan. It's pieced, and there are cables, a cable. It's absolutely stunning. So I talked about wanting to make this project a few months ago when I purchased the yarn, and I didn't have any other sweaters on the needles for myself, so I cast this one on, and it's really beautiful. I'm excited to show you. It's definitely a labor of love. Not that it's not a hard pattern, but it is. Well, let me show you. So the Rose cardigan is knit in quadrants, which means that you're kind of knitting the same big piece of fabric 4 times. There's a little bit of a difference because you've got 2 front panels and 2 back panels, so some of the shaping for like the back or the neck causes there to be a little bit of difference, but you're essentially knitting 4 of the same thing. So that can be a little bit like, oh, I already did this, it's not fun, but it is because of the colors. So this is my first panel that I completed, and we'll start down here. This is where you cast on. So this is color A. And there, the cable, very lovely, dog hair, of course. goodness. Okay, so the cable runs all the way up the sleeve. So where this joins, there will be a cable on the other side, I guess. I think, unless it's top and bottom. I think it's both cables are side by side. We'll see. I didn't think about that before. Regardless, so this is the right side of the fabric. You're using it's like the reverse stockinette side. My color A is the River Anduin by Treehouse Knits. This was part of her Lord of the Rings colorway collection that she did some months ago. It was like a pre-order, but it arrived very quickly. And then color B is also Treehouse Knits, and this is part of the Lord of the Rings collection. This is the Stories That Really Mattered. And then here, this is Lobby and Maed, and these are all merino sport. So 100% merino on a sport weight, which it turns out I very much love. And I think sport weight is highly underrated. It feels so nice to knit with. Anyway, this is Peanut Butter and Jelly by Lobby and Maed. And this is the final color from Treehouse Knits. So I purchased all 3 of the colors that she did in the Lord of the Rings collection. This one is worth fighting for. So 2 tonals, 2 variegated yarns. And yeah, I think when this is completely done, this is going to be beautiful. The rich, deep teal with the vibrant purples, I love. This is a color combo I've had in my heart for a while. So the only color that I was a little bit concerned with was this one here. So I remember her saying that this colorway, the Stories That Really Mattered, is actually this color as the base, and then it's over dyed with variegation with teals, and there's still a little bit of that lavender poking through, but then there's also some kind of orangey yellow colors. I was a little bit worried that it might end up looking like camo, but I think it's beautiful now that I'm doing it. Now, if this was like my La Prairie, yeah, I kind of can't believe I'm doing another faded cardigan so soon after I was like stressing out about those colors for as long as I did. But this one I knew I was just going to be happy with it. So I just went ahead. I knew that this would be a jarring transition from this deep teal to the Peanut Butter and Jelly Lobby and Maed, but it has a lot of similar colors. It's just very different, clearly, in these tones. But I think when the whole cardigan is done, and with this part being down by the sleeve, even though there's a jarring color transition, I think the colors are still beautiful together. So I think it'll be okay. And all of my favorite, as I do when I'm going to cast on any project, I look at every single Ravelry project. Spend a long time doing that when I'm planning mine. And all of my favorite rose cardigans were the ones where the sleeve was a vastly different color than the rest of the cardigans. So I thought it'll be really fun, and I'm really excited for it. So there's one panel. It's going to have such a beautiful drape. This is a back panel. Yeah, I know it's kind of hard to show you and give you the full perspective of it. Really, it was kind of hard to picture when I first started knitting it, when you're starting here and you're doing all these amazing things to increase and get the shape. And so I started to see it when it was coming together, but maybe it's hard to see on camera, I'm not sure. So I'm on the second panel and I'm almost done. I finished sort of the main stretch of the color fading, and I finished like all of the chart, if you will. She provides, so this pattern has a lot of aspects that happen simultaneously. So you've got increases on certain rows, you are casting on stitches on certain rows, you are managing changing colors, but she has this really clever, very simple but clever chart for each size. So that has made it to where I don't have to read the pattern at all. You just follow this little chart, and I used Knit Companion on an iPad, and I moved a little highlighter bar for each row, so it's made it such a dream to track this project. So even though there's a lot going on, very simple to follow. So now I finished the main part of it, and now I'm just doing the short rows for the front neck shaping. So this will be a front panel. And then of course I have to do the other 2 panels. And then finally, once it's all seamed, you pick up, and so there's going to be more of the river anduin because you actually knit sleeves. So you knit a rib knit sleeve to finish it out. So this is not quite, this is obviously part of the sleeve, but you're going to have a long cuff too. So that'll add a lot of length, and it's going to make it really cute and like cinched here. And then you've got like the dolman kind of drapey style for the cardigan. So I think this will be something I'm going to wear all the time. And then I guess you'll be picking up around like a placket sort of, what's it called? It's like a collar, I guess. So you pick up around and you will make, I believe it's like I think it's part of the cable pattern. And then you also pick up and knit a hem. So there's still there will still be quite a bit of knitting after all 4 panels are done, but those will be kind of simple because there'll be more in the round and you'll have 1 large piece of fabric versus 4 independent ones. So I really enjoyed this. It's the kind of project that I can work on as long as I can keep track of which row I'm on and when to increase and change colors. I can work on this in any kind of scenario. So that's my rose cardigan. It'll probably be done by the next time I can record, which will be delightful. Okay, let's see. I think this might actually be my last work in progress to share. I have a few more loosely ongoing, but not really. Like I think I have my Sophie shawl still. That's not something I work on very regularly. And I'm very excited about this one. So, Gabriella from Merryweather Knitting. She's also a pattern designer. She designed the Calville shawl, which I knit last year. That was her first published design. And now she's working on her second, and it's beautiful. And I feel very honored because she designed this pattern out of some of my yarn. She used my Soleil colorway, which she purchased quite a while ago. I haven't dyed that in a long time, but I love it. You can go and view it on her Instagram or her YouTube, but it's like golden kind of color, again, called Soleil. And she decided to design a pattern, a sock pattern out of it. And again, I feel so honored that she used the yarn that I dyed, and I cannot believe what she came up with. It is so intensely beautiful. It's been on my mind since she first started showing her kind of the process of like coming up with it. And randomly the other day she put up a test knit call for the pattern, which was very exciting. So I of course applied, and I'm so excited to be working on this pattern. I've only worked on it 1 day so far, but I'm going to go ahead and just work on these because I very much love it. I even dyed a new colorway to match the pattern, which is called Moon River Socks. So she is inspired by the song Moon River to design this pattern, and so I was very inspired to dye a new colorway. This is a colorway that's been on my mind for a long time, and I've not ever been able to achieve it, but finally I figured it out, and I'm very, very glad. So I'm calling this Moon River the colorway, and I hope she's okay with that. If you're watching, Gabriella, I hope you're okay with that, but I felt inspired to continue with that whole theme, and so I dyed it. And this is my BFL, my blue-faced Leicester base and nylon, but I have already dyed this colorway on some other bases too. So I have it on Just Merino, I have it on some DK, but I don't think I will have that in my shop update until this pattern comes out. I'll probably release it at the same time. But it's like a chartreuse. It's kind of between gold and chartreuse. So there's sort of the green color and a yellow gold. But I was thinking this kind of made me think about the color of water under like a yellow moonlight. And so I see it. I hope you can see it. And so I've done so far 1 repeat for the chart. And of course it's not blocked, so it's not open up yet, but I can't get over how, again, intensely beautiful this is. It is so gorgeous. I plan on knitting these perhaps with 3 repeats. I'm thinking I want it to be kind of long in the leg, and then this motif goes down the foot, so it will look beautiful over a pair of tights with some boots or something and a pretty dress and hand knit sweater. But it's so beautiful, and again, I just feel so special that she used a yarn that I dyed. I said before, but I adore her, and I feel like even though we have never met, I have such a connection to her, and I'm just, yeah, so glad to be working on this. So I'm planning on making a lot of progress on this tomorrow, and yeah, that's the Moon River Socks by Gabriella. Pattern in testing. I think it'll be out, I need to look again. I think that the deadline is the, oh, I don't remember. It'll be, just go to her Instagram and her YouTube and you'll get more information from her. Okay, I think that's all of my projects that I've been working on. It's quite a few. Still almost in my mind, not enough. There's so many things I want to make. I'm trying to avoid casting on anything new, but I'm so tempted to cast on a sweater in the round since all I have are these pieced sweaters now that my Fossil Frenzy tee is done. And anyway, I'm considering casting on something in the round just because that's the most satisfying to me to knit. So we'll see. I'm kind of thinking about, so the Petite Knitter just released the Spring Fling sweater top. You've probably seen it. It's so beautiful. I'm planning on making one perhaps out of Sadness Garn Double Sunday. I've got some beautiful colors in the shop, so I might make one as kind of like a half store sample, half me sample. So I'm probably making one of those, but also I kind of came across, again, I've seen this before, but she has a pattern called Tuku, and she designed it in Tuku wool, which is where the name comes from, but it is really, really beautiful. And I was not really, I've been knitting so much. My first year of going to Rhinebeck, I wanted to have like a Rhinebeck sweater. That felt very kind of important to me. And this time around, because I have so many more sweaters in my wardrobe, if you will, and some of them I haven't even gotten a chance to really wear because I've knit them when it's been warm. But anyway, I wasn't sure if I was planning on making like a Rhinebeck sweater. But the Tuku sweater, I think that might be one of my Rhinebeck sweaters. I'll have, of course, 3 opportunities with, well, first I'll wear my dinosaur sweater to the museum, but then I'm going to Wool and Folk on Friday, and then New York Sheep and Wool Saturday and Sunday. So I'll have 4 opportunities for wearing my knits. And I think I might actually make the Tuku pullover out of Tuku wool for Saturday. Of course, it's so up in the air what the weather will be like, and I do think that will be on the warmer side. So I'm not sure. I'll have to bring backup knits that are maybe fingering weight. This will be a DK weight, but I'm planning on making that. So I think I need to order the yarn, the Tuku wool. I'm just trying to decide between my main color. I'm looking at 2. So I'm looking at the same color that the Petite Knitter designed hers in, but the photos for the pattern are so beautiful, but they are filtered, so they look a lot darker and moodier, and that was kind of what drew me in, was that moody color for the sweater. But when I started to actually look at the yarns, that particular colorway is much brighter and more on the yellow side. I think it's called Nila, and it seems to be their most popular colorway, and it is beautiful. But the sweater kind of gives this impression of like this moody, dark color. So again, when I started looking at the actual colorway, I realized those pictures are a little bit skewed in terms of depicting the color of the sweater. So I'm considering getting a darker, richer brown, or perhaps like a really deep reddish brown. I'm trying to decide. And then it has this beautiful motif. And what draws me in really is the shape. So the shape of the body and then the neck. I think it's so pretty. So I'm trying to decide on my colors, but I would like to make that, I think, for Rhinebeck. So that's kind of my probably soonest plan. I do have some, this is a very long episode. This might be my longest episode yet. I've had a lot going on. So let me show you real quick my spinning, because I did get a spinning wheel. I ordered it months ago. It just came in like 2 nights ago. You can probably see it. I got a Shocked Ladybug spinning wheel. I am obsessed. I actually, last night, for the first time in a very long time, I laid awake and could not sleep, and that doesn't happen to me, and it's because in my brain I could see the spinning, and my hands desired that sensation. I wanted to spin yarn so badly, but I actually filled all of my, or didn't fill, but I've already used all 3 of my bobbins, because I separated one of my bats and just kind of did an equal amount on each bobbin for practice. So I wanted to show those real quick, and then I'm going to take this yarn off and get started with some others. But this is Tunis sheep wool that I purchased at New York Sheep and Wool in 2021. I got it from the farm owner. I think it's Wellsprings Farm. And Tunis, so if you're familiar with spinning, Tunis is definitely not considered to be a beginner-friendly fiber. And the person who sold the fiber to me did explain that Tunis sheep, and I don't like this phrase personally as somebody who doesn't eat meat and hasn't in a very long time. I understand it, but she says that Tunis sheep are considered like a meat breed, and so their fiber is perhaps a little bit less desirable, which kind of made me want to buy it more. But it doesn't have a long staple length, and it's just supposedly a little bit harder to spin. So I'm taking these practice spins with a grain of salt, and the next thing I'm going to spin is Coriadel, which I think will be easier, and especially now that I really actually understand what I'm doing, but that has a longer staple length, so I think my next spin will go better. But I wanted to show these practice spins. So I have 3 bobbins. Just quickly, this is my first bobbin, and it's exactly what you see. It's bumpy, it's uneven, there's a lot of overspun segments and segments that aren't even spun at all. But then, this was attempt 2, so still art yarn territory, but getting much better. But then attempt 3, I'm actually really proud of. So here's attempt 3, and I think it's so much prettier and more even, and this is something I could actually use. So I feel really good about the practice I've done so far, and I really love spinning. I love it so much. I think I'm going to have to do it all the time. So there's my practice. I need to get a Lazy Kate and perhaps some large bobbins. I'm obsessed. So that's that. That's been fun. I can't wait to pick this up now that I've shown these, and I will take this yarn off, and I don't know, I might just knit little swatches to hang up in the shop. We'll see. Maybe not with this one, because I think this is actually somewhat usable, but these ones maybe will just be framed decoration. Whew. I have this bat, and this is from Wellspring Farms also, Wellspring Fiber Farm, which these are from North Carolina, by the way, and that was part of why she had Tunis sheep, because they're a better breed for more southern states. I've been doing my research. Actually, that was part of why we went to Sheep and Wool a couple of years ago, to get an idea of sheep we could have here in the South. Anyway, this one is fine wool and llama, so we'll see how this goes. I think I will just go ahead and actually practice with this bat, and then go into like my nicer hand-dyed Coriadels. I definitely want to save, I showed this last time I think, but these are from Wee Chickadee. They're beautiful. I've got 2 of these. I'm going to save these for when I really trust that I will make a usable yarn. So if that means waiting, I will, but I actually don't think I'm too far away. So I think soon I will get to do this. These are beautiful. I'm totally obsessed with all of her hand-dyed fibers. This is Coriadel. And then I have a braid of Rambouillet from Sherwood Fiber Arts. They are a hand dyer in my area. I mentioned last time I've sold at shows with them before, and yeah, they make really beautiful colorways and hand-dyed fibers. So I've got a Rambouillet braid from them that I'm excited to spin. So that's all of my spinnings for right now. Okay, I'm going to show you just a couple of things that I've acquired other than my spinning wheel. I've only purchased one thing since I last recorded, but I had like this that I was waiting on my wheel for a couple of months, and then I had a pre-order for yarn that I'm going to show you. So I have been good. 2 things. I've bought 2 things, and I will show you, but I had to pause and get the yarn out of my car. Okay. The yarn from my car has been acquired. It's raining, so that was not ideal, but I didn't want to miss showing this to you. I haven't even opened it yet, so I'm very excited. So first, this is for a very special project that I can't talk about yet, but I did want to show you the yarn. I wish you could feel this. This is Malabrigo Silk Paca, and the color is, I think, Simply Taupe or Simple Taupe, but it's very beautiful. So this is an alpaca silk yarn. It's softer than you could even imagine, and it's a lace weight, so it's approximately 420 yards per 50 grams. It's 70% baby alpaca and 30% silk. Again, I can't talk yet, unfortunately, about what this will be, but it's going to be something very, very special, and I'm very excited to get started with this, which I will be doing soon. But I wanted to show you these. I got these from Eat Sleep Knit. I think they were about $11 a skein, maybe less, about 11, I think. So honestly, that felt like a good price for an alpaca silk blend. But these are beautiful, so that's going to be a project very soon. And then I got, this is my last Cailtin ceramics piece. I have 2 mugs from the ceramicist that I've shown last time, but I think she's really well known for her yarn bowls, and I got one. So this is a strawberry milk cow, got buttons in there, a strawberry milk cow yarn bowl. I purchased the one like defected one, I think that's what she called it, or one that had imperfections, so there's maybe a scratch or something on the mouth, and I think the bottoms, yeah, it was, when it was fired, it got a little bit messy, but it's perfectly usable, and honestly, I couldn't tell, so I got this for a really nice price. I was very excited to get this. You obviously feed the yarn through here, so it's very cute. So the yarn. This yarn is so exciting. So I mentioned that a few months ago, I got the Lord of the Rings colorways from Treehouse Knits, which I'm working with currently. And I didn't purchase anything from Long Dog Yarn at the time, and they were kind of jointly doing this update together. And Long Dog Yarn, Brandy, I think is her name, I've purchased her yarn before. I really love her dye style. I've had a couple of her Labyrinth colorways, but I didn't buy her Lord of the Rings. And then she brought it back once more, and so I did. And she's currently dyeing this, and I don't remember how long I waited, but it was kind of nice, actually. This was the first time I pre-ordered yarn that took this long to get to me, and she totally made that transparent. I was kind of glad because it was sort of like a gift to myself in the future. But I bought her second round of the Lord of the Rings collection. I'm going to take it out of the bag and show you. So this collection is intensely beautiful. I'm very impressed by it. If not only for the yarn bands, she has these insanely beautiful yarn bands on this collection. I'm going to have to keep one of these. It has that soft velvety feel. I don't even know how she did this, but it's so beautiful. So I got a couple of colorways. I will show you. Here's everything all together. I've been feeling a lot of greens and earthy tones recently, probably because I've done a lot of vibrant kind of knits. So I have a couple of projects planned. So these 3 are on the Merino DK base, and this one is Legolas. This one is the Deep Breath Before the Plunge, and this one I think was, yeah, The Light of Arendelle. I hear something. And these are all Merino DK. They're extremely soft. My plan for these is to knit the Odyssey shawl, which is a Joji Locatelli pattern. It's a free shawl pattern, and I think it's going to be beautiful in these colors because I think it's going to have a very foresty, like forest elf kind of feeling. So I think this will be beautiful, and I'm very excited. They're so lovely. Again, this is my first time actually getting to see them, so I'm really excited. This is going to be such a fun knit. My friend Sharon knit the Odyssey shawl, and it's very beautiful, so I'm excited to make my own. And then I got one skein of sock yarn. This is her Bounce sock base. This is the Lord of the Rings colorway is what it's called. It's again, really beautiful. This is the only one I didn't have a direct plan for. I might make socks, but probably not. I might make a muscle burra hat. I just don't wear hats very often, but they're a fun project to knit. Or I may try to use this in like a tank top pattern. I think that there's one, I know there's like Jessie Maed. She's got bralette and tank top pattern. So I think she's got like a racerback tank top pattern. That might be what it's called, but you can do like a fade. And so I'm thinking of doing this and making a tank top to wear with cardigans. It's really beautiful. Blue-green with speckles. And then perhaps most exciting, I have 2 skeins of this. This is the colorway that stole my heart. And I do this often. I kind of laughed at myself after I purchased them because I realized I have a very similar colorway. So I probably could have dyed something similar for myself for this project, but I really wanted this base that she was offering that I haven't knit before, and it's very lovely. This is the yak silk base, so it's 65% superwash merino wool, 20% silk, and 15% yak. These are 438 yards per 100 grams, so it's a fingering weight. And this is a shortcut to mushrooms. Again, this was my favorite colorway. Because it's the yak silk blend, it's a much richer gray toned yarn. So even though I have a colorway that's very similar, I've never dyed it on a darker base like this, a gray toned base. So mine looks a little bit more like her version on merino wool, but it's my Tea in the Forest colorway. But again, I really wanted this base, and she does such a beautiful job. These are so exquisite. And these are going to be an oolong tank by Amy Shure. I've been so excited to knit that pattern. It's insanely beautiful. And I thought this colorway would do so much justice to the pattern and vice versa. So I'm really excited. These are so soft and silky and just beautiful. So I will be casting this one on very soon. I'm so excited to knit this. Okay. I have a couple. Wow, this is going to be like a 2-hour episode. Goodness. Okay. So I have a couple of gifts that I received to show you, and then I'm going to quickly show you part of my Spirited Away collection update. So let's talk about my gifts real quick. I forgot to show these the last time I recorded because I was really just so frantic last time. But my friend Jasmine came, and this was back in April, that she came and visited me at Knit in Public Day when I was vending at the Hoover Library. So Jasmine, hi if you're watching. And she made me the most beautiful gifts, and I cannot believe that I forgot to show them last time. I was kicking myself as soon as I finished recording, but I was out of time, so I couldn't pick up the camera and do it again. But she made me 2 beautiful gifts. So one was this. This is the cutest idea. Have you ever seen anything like this? It's so cute. So it's a mason jar that she painted to look like a toadstool, and she made like a fairy door and put moss around it. This is so talented and cute. And I now that I've seen this, and I want to make a bunch of these. This is beautiful. So thank you, Jasmine. I can't get over this. And she put tea in here, and I stopped myself from drinking the tea until I showed how insanely sweet, and I don't know, it's just this gift. Like, she clearly knows me with both of these gifts so well. So thank you, Jasmine. I love this. It's such a treasure. So she made me that. And then this one is also such, again, a treasure. She crocheted me a paper crane, and this is actually out of my Batwing colorway. I think this must be my worsted base, my merino worsted base, but I just couldn't even believe this. So I can't remember exactly when she bought this yarn, but she surprised me with crocheting me an origami crane, which is clearly, you know, my thing. I love paper cranes and so much that I created a company based around them, and I love this so much. This is so special. She was actually crocheting these, some of these when we were together at the library, and so I kind of got to see the little pieces. So this is seamed, like sewn together, and I'm just so impressed by how well made this is. And I don't know, it's so cool. So thank you, Jasmine. I'm really pleased with this. It's just gorgeous. I felt like, oh man, I want to give you a gift too, but obviously I didn't have anything right then and there that I had made, so I gave her some skeins of yarn as like a small thank you. But honestly, to me, even though I dyed the yarn, it's not really the same as like sitting down and taking the time to make these kinds of gifts for somebody. So I'm just so grateful. So thank you, Jasmine. Again, I love them. I'm going to now hang this up in the shop. I've been waiting because we're doing the shop expansion. That is really, we're really getting there. Like, I have all the furniture. So anyway, this might go in the new side, which will be this wall will sadly not be there anymore. But anyway, I'm going to probably hang this up in here or over in the new shop expansion. We will see. And I have one more gift to show you. And this is so cool. And I thought about wearing it today, but I like to wear more casual clothes like this at the house. And I just washed this, so I want to save it for like a day that I'm open at the shop. But Chelsea, who owns the Eclectic Sook, she's here on YouTube and on Instagram, and she has an Etsy shop where she sells, she hand dyes yarn. She does naturally dyed yarn that are very beautiful, and she also does like graphic design, and you can purchase things like shirts. And I'm sorry because the camera reverses everything because I'm using a front-facing setting, and at one point I had figured out how to flip the video in my editor, and then my editor updated and I can't find that feature anymore. So I'm sorry if this is backwards, which it likely will be. I will insert a photo of the actual shirt. It's not backwards in real life. I'm sure you understand that. But she reached out and offered to send me a gift, which was very kind. She knows that I love Star Wars and obviously knitting, so the combination of those two passions is so fun. So this is a design that you can purchase off of her Etsy shop, and it says Knit Wars, and it has knitting needles, and she has this saying on a couple different designs. She was very sweet and let me pick which design I liked, what color I liked, and the size, and then she had it sent to me. So I really love it, and I sent her a skein of my Aura colorway as like a thank you, so we did kind of like a gift trade, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, that's my Knit Wars t-shirt, and it's really cute. Again, I'll have done some pictures. Gosh, editing actually has a lot of work to do. So thank you, Chelsea. I really love this, and again, I'll have her shop linked below if you, like me, are a lover of, and she's got other designs too, but if you perhaps love the combination of these two things, you will probably want to get one of these. I don't know, maybe you're going to a con soon. I'm going to a con soon. My Mandalorian armor should be all done so I can wear it. But maybe you're going to a con and you don't have a full suit of armor, or you don't want to wear one or make one, and maybe you can get a t-shirt like this and represent your love of Star Wars and knitting. That's amazing. Okay, last thing. I have been working very hard on a yarn collection. This is my Spirited Away collection, and I'm going to, this is a long video and I'm just gonna embrace that. So if you are still here, or maybe you're watching in parts, wow, that's incredible, thank you. This collection is, drink some coffee, I almost said yarn. So this collection is really special to me for a number of reasons, but so Spirited Away is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I'm sure many of you feel the same. I remember watching it as a little child and then going years and not even knowing what I had seen, and then finally coming across it, and it was like, wow, so I didn't dream that up. It was real, and it's amazing. And my best friend, Jerome, he also loved Spirited Away. Oh, okay, I'm gonna do my best not to get emotional here. You may know that Jerome died almost 2 years ago. I feel it coming. Okay, so Jerome, he died 2 years ago, just about, in October. It was actually, I still remember that day very vividly. It like the day that I was editing my Rhinebeck video, which sounds so silly, and I'm not making this about me in any way, but I'm just saying I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing when I learned that he had died. So A couple of months before he died, I made him a painting, and it was No Face from Spirited Away, because there was one night years ago at this point where we were both dressing up, and he was dressing up as No Face for an event, and he was amazing in so many ways, but he had a 3D printer that he had just gotten recently, and he was playing around with it, and he realized he could 3D print a mask to look like No Face. And so he did, and he created a whole costume. He just looked fantastic. I was so impressed, and he did such a good job. And something kind of like sad happened that day, and I ended up not going to the event, but I just remember he was dressed in this costume, and he realized that I was crying, and I just remember him like coming over, and just as sweet and gentle of a person that he was, just comforting me, but dressed as No Face. And anyway, it was such a special and standout moment in my mind and in our friendship. And so I painted him No Face, and I wrote him a little letter on the back of the painting, and I framed it, and I gave it to him. After he died, I don't know what happened to it, but I hope that somebody in his family has it. Of course, I'm not going to ask anybody that. If anybody should have it, it's them. So I just hope somebody has it. I don't know any details about that, but I hope somebody has it, and that it makes them, smile when they see it. I have no idea. I'm just going to tell myself that's what happened to it. But I had a scanned version of the painting that I made. It was a watercolor painting, and I considered getting it printed just so I could see it, because again, I painted it for him with the idea of it kind of being him, and when I look at it, that's all I think of. And when I actually watch that movie, he's all I think of. So it's bittersweet. So I've been wanting to dye a yarn collection, and I wanted to use that painting as sort of the like the label, and like get to incorporate that picture into my yarn dyeing, and sort of dedicate this whole collection to Jerome. So I dyed up a yarn collection, and again, this is dedicated to Jerome. Almost 2 years since he's been gone. But yeah, so I wanted to share that with you guys and show you. I try not to think about it or talk about it, but of course it still devastates me every day. Until his loss, I had never lost anybody close to me, and then I lost like the person almost closest to me. He was like the soulmate of friends, It's not often that you make a friend who truly means the world to you that way. So without further ado, I did a sock set collection. So my plan is to go ahead, I have everything dyed. I just haven't shared it. So last episode I had given a date that I was planning on releasing them, but they weren't finished, and so that date came and went, and it just didn't happen. So the last thing I need to do is photograph everything and start to advertise, but I have all the skeins ready to go, so I wanted to share it. So I've done 5 sock sets. I'm sorry if you can hear the hype train. I've done 5 sock sets, and they're each based off of, there's the train, 5 different characters. So they come with one 100 gram main color skein, and then a 20 gram mini for you to use as a contrast. And of course you can make other things. I took a vote on Instagram with what people wanted to see, and sock sets was the winner, so that's what I did. So each of these, again, dedicated to Jerome. So I'll just go through each one, and I hope that you love them as much as I do. I feel a very strong connection to these. So yeah. So this is my Chihiro set, and on the front is the painting that I made for Jerome. Hopefully so the printer kind of washed it out a little bit, but it's still fairly there. So it's No Face with poppies and roses. So this is my Chihiro set, and the main color is like a minty or like a spring pistachio green with brown speckles to kind of represent her hair, and then the mini is like a salmony coral red to kind of represent her shorts. And this to me says Chihiro, so I hope that you can see that. So it's called Chihiro, and then each of the mini skeins is named a quote from the character or from the movie about the character. And so this one is I Think I Can Handle It. So this one is sort of my set based on like bravery. And yeah, all of these things, again, bringing it back to the connection with Jerome, I was inspired not just by the characters, but different aspects of the characters that I felt like he embodied. So that was kind of my goal in what I wanted to portray with each of these sets. So this is sort of like a bravery set. And then the next set I'll show you, this is Haku. And the main color is a variegated. You get some, the lighting starting to kind of blow things out a little bit, but you get some sky blue and some kind of like turquoise and some spring green, or like a kind of like a vibrant greenish blue, and lots of some white, and then the contrast is this like bright turquoise kind of color. And this is called Haku, and the quote is, "I knew you were good," which Chihiro says to Haku. And so this one is kind of about friendship to me. It's kind of about loyalty. And so that's Chihiro and Haku. And next we have Lynn, who I love. She's so sassy but sweet. And the blue, sorry, so the main color, it's like a salmon color to represent sort of her uniform, and some brown to kind of represent her hair, and the contrast is a navy blue, which represents like the rest of her uniform. But the colorway, it's Lynn, and the quote is, "Someday I'm getting on that train." And to me, this one represents like dreaming. And yeah, Jerome was such a dreamer, for sure, more so than just about anybody I've ever known. So I thought Lynn was a good character embodiment for that. Of course, she's got plenty of other characteristics, but I thought that one was a good one for that one. I'm gonna have to redo this label because it keeps opening. But this one is Zeniba, who is one of my favorite characters, mostly because of the scene where she's teaching No Face how to knit. I love that. So the main color, it's like a, so I'm gonna have two dye lots available of this, and I'll have them listed. One is more saturated and one kind of has a little bit more distinction between the different colors, but I really liked both and didn't want to over dye the lighter colorway because I thought it was really nice, and I thought there might be some people who like the deeper one with a little bit less distinction between all of the colors, and then the other one, which I don't have to show me, it's there, but it'll be on the website listed probably separately. And then the mini skein is like just a brownish color, but the main skein has reds, like deep reds and navy blues and whatnot. And this is called Zeniba, and it says, "Once you meet someone, you never really forget them." And this one is kind of about being bold but kind. So that is Zeniba. And then the last one, this one's just silly, and I think that was like one of his predominant characteristics. He was just so silly. I have two options for this because I couldn't decide what color to make my mini skein, and I figured they would both work. So this one is Soot Sprite, and the mini skein is called Hoo Hoo. I sat there and listened to a clip of the Soot Sprites over and over, trying to figure out what noise they make, and that was the closest I could get to. So the main skein will be both the same for both options. It's black, but in sort of like the negative space, there's vibrant speckles and pops of bright colors to kind of represent the candy that they eat. And then I'll have a choice of like a neon pink or a neon yellow contrast. So again, this one's just about kind of fun and silliness. Okay, 2 hours later, I think we will wrap that up very swiftly. Thank you so much for watching. I'm not going to have fun editing this. We'll see how much I have to show the next time. And thank you so much for listening to me, especially if you listened to my little story about Jerome. I really appreciate the opportunity to even be able to discuss him in that way. And I love him so much. Even gone, you know, he has never left me. I will always love him very much. The most amazing friend. So, yeah. Sorry to end this on like a sad note. I'm trying to be happy about it, but I miss him so much. Goodness. But I just appreciate what this gets to do for me. And so thank you all so much for being on the other side of this and leaving me sweet comments. And I get sweet emails like, what is going on? The world is just, you guys are so nice. I really appreciate it. So thank you for taking the time to be nice to me. Okay, I'll see you next time. Happy knitting or crocheting or sewing, spinning, whatever you are getting into, baking, gardening, do it all. Bye.